Okay, so hello and welcome to this vignette on maths revision. My name is Mark Thomas. Now, the reason we are having this little vignette is that not everyone has done a lot of maths in their degree up until now. They may not have done much maths when they were at high school either. And so the idea of this session is to give those students who feel they're a little bit weaker in their maths bit of a revision on just the general maths rules. And the reason we're doing that is investment management is a maths heavy subject. So you need to be well prepared. Now, this isn't going to be enough for every student. There are going to be some students who really feel that they need more help. And if they do, I strongly recommend that they go seek it out at the university where there is a maths tutorial group provided, MESH. And please go out and seek them, or otherwise go out and seek a private tutor to help you with the maths. For the rest of you, of course, if you're very, very strong at maths, I encourage you to just have a quick look at this. But for most students, I hope that this will be beneficial. Okay. The rules. Now, of course, most students get a little bit bored when it comes to the rules, don't you? But these are actually pretty important rules for maths. Can all be summarised down in BODMAS. What does that stand for? Well, we do things inside the brackets first. So B in BODMAS stands for brackets. So we do that first. Then after brackets, we do things, the exponents or powers. Or when we were at high school, we might have heard it referred to as order of, raising something to the order of another number. That's the O in BODMAS. We do that before we multiply, divide, add or subtract. The D and the M stand for divide and multiply. We do that before we add and subtract. And then the final step is add or subtract as you work from left or right. So it's brackets first, powers second, divide and multiply third, and then addition and subtraction last. And we generally work from left to right in the equation. Okay, so let's do a couple of examples. So here's how it works. Generally we work from left to right in the equation. And how do we solve this equation? 4.5 times 2 plus 7.2 equals what? Well, of course, this is straightforward. We just work from left to right and we get the answer is 16.2. That's nice and easy. But what about if I write the equation slightly differently, where we have 4.5 plus 2 times 7.2? Well, in this instance, we can't work from left to right. We have to rely on BODMAS to help us. So here's where the rules come in. We sit down and we think about BODMAS. B, brackets, O, order of, D, divide, M, multiply. Okay, we do the multiplication first before we do A, addition, S, subtraction. So we do the multiplication before we do the addition. And so we multiply before addition, therefore, we could rewrite the equation as 2 times 7.2 plus 4.5 and just work from left to right. So 2 times 7.2 is 14.4 plus 4.5 gives us 18.9. Of course, that means when we write the equation in the way that it was given to us, how we attempt to solve it, we do the multiplication first, then we do the addition. That gives us, again, 18.9. Okay, well, that was a pretty easy example as to how maths works. But let's look at a slightly harder opportunity, a slightly harder example. Let's look at brackets. So again, BODMAS, brackets, order of, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. So maths functions inside the bracket and inside the brackets gets done first. So in this equation, 4.5 times open brackets 2 plus 7.2 close brackets equals what? Which do we do first? BODMAS, brackets, order of, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. So brackets, everything inside the brackets we do first. So it's 2 plus 7.2, we add that together first. And then we multiply that result by 4.5. And so 4.5 times, in brackets, 2 plus 7.2 equals what? Well, we add the 2 to the 7.2 to get 9.2, and then we multiply that by 4.5. And that gives us 41.4. And so 4.5 times 2 plus 7.2 in brackets. If we add the 2 and the 7.2 together, we multiply the result by 4.5. That gives us 41.4. Okay, so we've got this happening now. Let's look at some more complicated examples. Powers. Okay, so that's order of. BODMAS, brackets, order of, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. So the power, order of, gets done after brackets, but before division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. So that's what BODMAS tells us. So here's this equation we've got to sort out. 5.4 times E, it's just a number, being raised to the power of 1.25 times 7.2 minus 6 over 2.5. So BODMAS tells us we focus on the brackets. We look at the brackets. We look inside the brackets. There's 7.2 less 6.5 over 2.5. BODMAS tells us we divide 6 by 2.5 before we subtract it from 7.2. Okay, so we do that bit first. Calculate the function inside the brackets first. That's step 1. So it's 7 minus 6 over 2.5. That becomes 7.2 minus 2.4. That's just 6 divided by 2.5. And that gives us 4.8. All right, so we've done the bit inside the brackets. Step 2 is we calculate the power function. So it's E. Now, if you recall, if you don't know what E is, I recommend that you go back and you have a look at or you don't know how to find it on your calculator, you go back and have a look at the session on calculator basics, and that will show you where to find E on your calculator. E is just a number, but it's a special number. And we'll be using E in investment management. So E to the power of 1.25 times 4.8, what does that equal? Well, we have to multiply the 1.25 times 4 by 4.8, and then we raise E to that power. So that's E to the 6th, and that equals 403.4287935. Okay, so we've figured out that part of the equation. We then have to figure out the last part, which is the multiplication. And so what is 5.4 times E to the power of 1.25 times, open brackets, 7.2 minus 6 divided by 2.5, close brackets. What does that equal? Well, of course, we've calculated all the E functions. So that's 403.4287935. And we just multiply that by 5.4. And that gives us 2,178.515485. And so therefore, what is 5.4 times E to the power of 1.25 times, open brackets, 7.2 less 6 divided by 2.5, close brackets? Well, that equals 2,178.515485. And for those of you that are a little bit unsure, I suggest that you stop this vignette here, just pause it here and have another go, and just make sure that you're comfortable being able to calculate out this function. Okay, powers. Well, also in investment management, we also use logarithmic functions. and ln is just another form of powers. Ln is the natural logarithm, but logarithms are just another form of powers. And so ln 4.5 times 2 plus 7.2, well, we go to BODMAS, and that's going to tell us we do the thing inside the brackets first. And so 2 plus 7.2 is inside most of the brackets first. And so we do that first, then we multiply it by 4.5, then we take the natural logarithm. And if you're unsure where to find the natural logarithm key on your calculator, I suggest you go back and you have a look at the calculator basics vignette, and that will show you how to use that function on your calculator. So BODMAS tells us to add the 2 and the 7.2 together, then multiply that result by 4.5 before we calculate the natural log. And when we do that, we end up with the result of 3.72328088. Okay, if you've got a question about that, just pause the slide here, go back and have another go. Okay, decimal places. This also does cause students a little bit of challenge in this unit, probably because it's been a long time since you've dealt with decimal places. But investment management, we're dealing with money, and so it's important to get things down to the cent. And so decimal places are important in this subject, even though we're talking about millions and billions of dollars, decimal places are important. And so they are very useful for ensuring precision, and generally currency and returns are reported to 2 decimal places. And so that is my expectation in this unit. You will report currency and return numbers to 2 decimal places. And so currency will be of the format of whatever the currency symbol is, number, dot, number. And returns, they'll be number, dot, number, percent. Okay, so please remember to report your final results in that format. Now, there are some cases where we do report returns to 4 decimal places and 3 or 4 decimal places, but that will become it'll become obvious, and it'll be a nature of the question. My questions in the exams tend to be to 2 decimal places or to 4 decimal places. Please report. So please do report numbers to those decimal places. Often, though, in investment management, the internal parts of a calculation, those intervening steps, are often calculated to either 4 or 8 decimal places. And again, I'll be very, very clear as to whether we're calculating to 4 or to 8 decimal places, so you'll know which to apply. And so in those instances, it is important to calculate numbers and report those numbers in the intervening steps to the appropriate number of decimal places. And so that would be x dot xxxxxxxx, all 8 decimal places. If you report to 9, you'll get the number wrong. If you report to 7, you'll get the calculation wrong. It is really important that we are detailed in our work in investment management. So even though your calculator will show numbers to a different precision, please follow the instructions given in class to get the correct answer. Again, it's because we're dealing with multiple millions and billions of dollars in investment management. And in the industry, we've come up with conventions to ensure that we're all able to agree on the value of a security. And so if you use or report the wrong number of decimal places and you use that in your in exams, you will get the incorrect answer and you will not receive the full marks for the question. Rounding. This also seems to cause students a bit of a challenge. They're not too sure how to round numbers. So let's pick this example. How do you report 8.44561489 to 2 decimal places? Well, there's rules that help us to do that. Of course, the question which students have is it 8.44 or is it 8.45? And the rule is, if the next number, so in this case, we're looking to 2 decimal places, so therefore we look at the 3rd decimal place. If it is 5 or larger, we round up. If the next number, in other words, that 3rd decimal place is 4 or smaller, we round down. And so therefore, in this instance, 8.445614892 to 2 decimal places is 8.45. Okay, so I hope you found this useful. Key things which I want you to remember. First one is BODMAS, brackets, order of, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. Please do work and report in the appropriate level of precision. Round up if the next number is 5 or larger. Of course, remember to round down if the next number is 4 or smaller. Okay, thank you very much. And I hope that you found this very, very useful.